Hi guys, a pleasant morning. Hope you all are doing well and good. As we all know, we are discussing Unit 4 Prose, Bipin Choudhury's Lapse of Memory, written by Satyajit Ray. So let's see a small recap of Part 1. So in the first part, we discussed about Bipin's character, that he is not a good mixer, having only few friends, and he often buy books at Kalicharan's bookshop. So in the shop, he meets a stranger named Parimal Ghosh. The stranger says about a trip to Ranchi, but Bipin couldn't recollect anything. He says that he had never been to Ranchi at all. But Parimal Ghosh, that is the stranger, said some intimate details about Bipin. That is, he had a cut in a right knee in Choudhury Falls, and about wife's death, and he has no children, and also about brother's insanity. After that, he often carries books with him in the sightseeing trips. Like that, whatever the intimate details the stranger said was correct. Even Bipin couldn't deny that at all. So, Bepin convinced himself that he has a good memory and he is working in a big company in a high position where he can conduct a meeting for an half an hour without forgetting anything. After that, how it is possible? How can he forget such an incident that took place only 6 or 7 years ago? That too a trip to Ranchi. How it is possible? Like that, he was thinking himself. After that, he wanted to check whether his memory is right or not. So he thought of calling his friend, because Parimal Ghosh said that Dinesh Mukherjee was also there with him in that trip to Ranchi. So he thought of going and meeting Dinesh Mukherjee where he lives nearby. So after that, he dropped out that plan, because if Dinesh know that Bipin just asked him for a confirmation, then Dinesh might think that Bipin is going nuts, and after that he would make fun of him. So Bipin don't want to lose his dignity at all. So after that, he took a book, one of his book thrillers, and after that he read and slept that whole day. So next morning he went to office. So the previous day's encounter was going on in his mind. So he thought of calling Dinesh Mukherjee. So this is what we have discussed in the previous video. Whether did he call Mukherjee or not? What happened after that? To know all these things, we have to move to the next part. Come, let's move on to the next part. Just before lunch, Bipin Babu decided to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee, because he thought that it was better to settle a question on the phone. At least the embarrassment, that is the shame on the face, won't show. Like that he thought, and he called Dinesh Mukherjee. He says, Bipin here. Well, what is the news? Like that Dinesh Mukherjee is asking. So Bipin is saying that he just wanted to find out if he could recall any incident which took place in 58. So Dinesh is asking, 58, what incident? So Bipin is saying that, were you in Calcutta throughout the year? That is the first thing I have got to know. Like that Bipin is asking to Dinesh. So wait a minute. So 58, let me check in my diary. Like that Dinesh is saying. So there was a silence for a minute. At that time, Bipin Babu's heartbeat was little bit high and he was sweating a little. So after that, Dinesh calls him and says that, yeah, I have been out twice. Like that he is saying. So where you went? Like that Bipin is asking. So once in February nearby to Krishnanagar, that is to nephew's wedding, I have gone, and one more is a trip to Ranchi. You were there too. I think you know about it. Like that he was saying. So after that he is saying that, but why are you asking all those things? Why are you investigating all those things? Like that Dinesh is asking. Bipin said that, no, I just wanted to know. Anyway, thank you for your information. Like that Bipin says, and he slammed the receiver down. Smashed, you can say. So down, and gripped his head with his hands. He felt that his head is swimming, and a sudden chillness spread all over his body. He bought sandwiches for his tiffin, but he didn't eat them at all. He just lost his appetite. Appetite is nothing but hunger. Just imagine his situation, guys. He couldn't remember anything where the trip to Ranchi, but how it is possible? How it is possible to forget about one such incident alone? Like that he is just thinking about it. And then there the second part ends. Now let's move on to the third part. So after the lunch time, Bipin Babu realized that he was affected by the previous day. Whatever happened throughout the day, he was totally affected. So it was impossible for him to sit and work. So he left that place, that is, left the office and went back to home. So he was thinking how it is possible. This had never happened in the last 25 years. So he is in a big position, as a reputation at all. So he is less and conscientious worker, tireless worker. How it is possible? But today his head started to wheel. That is, he couldn't think anything clearly. That is what happened to him. So after gathering his wits together, that is, making an effort to become calm and think clearly, even though he couldn't remember any such incident, and he just think he knew that it was possible to lose one's memory through an injury in the head, but he did not know of a single instance of someone's remembering everything except one particular incident, and a fairly recent and significant one. And how it is possible? He had always wanted to go to Ranchi, and he had gone there, done things and not remember anything. How it is possible? It is utterly impossible. Like that he thinks. So at 7:30, Bipin Babu's servant come and announced that Shani Babu sir is here. So Shani Babu is a new character, has been introduced in this chapter. So he is one of important character. Now let's see about him. Sanilal is a friend of Bipin who did schooling with him. So he had been coming here often because he needs some help from Bipin. Sanilal was going through a bad phase in his life where he has no job, money or anything at all. So he came there to ask help from Bipin. Whereas Bipin know that it was not possible to do anything for him. In fact, Bipin told him that he couldn't help him at all. But Shanilal kept turned like a bad penny. So here, turning up like a bad penny is just a phrasal verb. So meaning for that is appearing at a place where one is not at all welcome. So this is the meaning for that phrasal verb. Now Bipin has sent a word that it is not possible for him to meet Shani now, and not willing to meet him also. Just say this to him. Like that he says to the servant and send him down. So suddenly when the servant stepped out, a thought comes to Bipin's mind that Shanilal might remember something about 58 drip. There is no harm of asking him at all. Like that Bipin thinks and hurries down to the stairs into the living room. Sunny was about to leave, but by seeing Bipin Babu appearing there, he turned around hopefully. He thought that he came to help him, like that Shani thought. But Bipin Babu came straight to the point, didn't talk about anything else. Listen, Sunny, I just want to ask you something. I know that you have a good memory, so you have been seeing me for a long time. Just throw your mind back and tell me, did I go to Ranchi in 58? Sunny said, 58. It must have been 58 or 59, like that. Shani was just confused. So are you sure that I did go to Ranchi? Like that Bipin Babu was asking to Shani. Sanilal look of amazement. He had mixed emotion in his face. So Sanilal said, do you mean you have doubts of you have going there, like that? Sanilal asked to Bipin, did I go there? Do you remember clearly? Like that Bipin was asking. Now Sanilal sat on the sofa, fixed Bipin Babu with a long hard stare and said, Bipin, have you taken drugs or something? As far as I know, you had a clean record where such things are concerned. I know that old friendship doesn't mean much to you, but at least you had a good memory. You can't really mean that you have forgotten about a trip to Ranchi. But how it is possible? Don't tell me that you forgot about a trip to Ranchi, like that Sanilal was saying to Bipin. So after that, Bipin Babu had to turn away from Sanilal's incredulous stare, that is unbelievable stare. Do you remember what my last job was? Asked Sanilal. Of course you worked in a travel agency, like that Bipin Babu said. So, Sanilal says that you remember everything, but you don't remember that it was I who fixed up your railway booking for Ranchi. I went to the railway station to see you off. One of the fan in your compartment was not working. I got an electrician to fix it. Have you forgotten everything, Bipin? Like that, Shani was asking to Bipin. Now, Bipin Babu was little bit worried. So, Sunny says that you don't look too good. So take care, like that Shanilal is saying. So Bipin Babu signed and shook his head, said that I have been working too hard. He said at last that it might be the reason. So I have to consult a specialist, like that he said. So doubtless it was Bipin condition which made Sanilal leave without mentioning anything about the job. And then there comes a young physician named Paresh Chanda, that is a doctor with a pair of bright eyes and sharp nose. He became thoughtful when he heard about Bipin Babu's symptoms. Look, Dr. Chanda, said Bipin Babu desperately, that is hopelessly. You must cure me of this horrible illness. I can't tell you how it is affecting my work. Dr. Chanda shook his head. You know what, Mr. Choudhury, like that Chanda says. He said that I have never had to deal with such a case as yours. Frankly, this is quite outside my field of experience. But I have a suggestion. I don't know if it will work, but it is worth to try. It has no harm at all. Like that Chanda says. Bipin Babu leaned forward anxiously to listen to him. So as far as I can make out, said Dr. Chanda, and think if you are in the same opinion, you must have been to Ranchi, but due to some unknown reason, the entire episode has slipped out of your mind. But I could suggest you once again go to Ranchi. The sight of seeing all those places might remind you about the trip. Like that Dr. Chanda says. This is not impossible. More than that, I cannot say anything at this moment. So I am prescribing you a nerve tonic and a tranquilizer. So sleep is essential or the symptoms will get more pronounced. After that, Dr. Chanda left that place. So Bipin Babu had the medicines properly. So after that, in the next morning, he felt little better. So after having breakfast, he rang up his office and gave some instructions, and then he procured a first class ticket to Ranchi for the same evening. Procured, nothing but got. So here the third part ends. Let us see the part 4 in the next video session. Now, I have some homework for you. You have to do it and take a picture, send it to me through the mail. You know the mail ID, right? edustar.8@gmail.com. The homework note is 120 pages. So what you have to write in that is, you have to frame 1 mark question for part 1 and 2 alone. So 1 mark question, you have to frame it and you have to write the answers also. Write it clearly and send it to me. And then you have to write meanings for hard words. As far as I know, in this lesson, we have many new words. So better you write this in your homework note. Minimum you have to write 20 words. Okay, write it and send it to the given mail ID. Now, let us discuss about the comprehension check, which is given there in page number 62 in your book. The first question is, why did the man stare at Bipin Babu in disbelief? So the answer is, he could not understand. That is, the man could not understand how Bipin Babu had forgotten all about him when he had met him in Ranchi. And the man knew a lot about Bipin's life and relatives, everything. So that the man stared at Bipin Babu. Now let's move on to the second one. Where did Bipin Babu say he went in October 58? Bipin Babu said that he spent his puja holidays in 58 with his friend in Kanpur. Now, third question. Mention any 3 things or more things that Parimal Ghosh knew about Bipin Babu. So, let us see the answer. Now, he had a fall in Choudhury Falls and a cut in a right knee, stayed at a bungalow because he liked food cooked by Bawarchi. His wife died 10 years ago. Brother died because of insanity, and he carried books during his sightseeing trips, and then he had no children. So these are the details which is given in your lesson. Now let's move on to the comprehension check which is there in the page 65. See the first question. Why did Bipin Babu worry about what Parimal Ghosh had said? So Parimal Ghosh knew lot about Bipin Babu's wife, brother and all his habits. So on hearing that, Bipin Babu was little confused. That's all. Now let us move on to the second question. How did he try to decide who was right, his memory or Parimal Ghosh? So Bipin Babu did two things. One is he checked his right knee for a cut mark, and then he called up Dinesh Mukherjee to know about his trip. So this is what he did. So this is the answer for this question. Now let's move on to the third one. Why did Bipin Babu hesitate to visit Mr. Mukherjee? Why did he finally decide to call up him? So Bipin Babu was afraid that Dinesh Mukherjee might make fun of him. So he called Dinesh to avoid embarrassment. So this is the answer. Now let's move on to the fourth question. What did Mr. Mukherjee say? Did it comfort Bipin Babu or add to his worries? Mr. Mukherjee confirmed that they had been to Ranchi. So it added more worries to Bipin Babu. So this is what the answer is. I think we have completed part 1 and 2 clearly. Part 3 also we have completed. Comprehension check we will do it in the next video session. So do the given work properly. Once you finish your homework, send me the mail. Take your own time to finish it. Thank you. Take care. Let's meet in the next session.